We've got another COVID outbreak to talk about, and this time it is not limited to just WWE. This time it is an NXT outbreak. Not a main roster outbreak, at least not yet. Training has been halted at the Performance Center for the time being. According to PW Insider, the belief from sources is that the outbreak began after an NXT talent threw a party that fellow trainees attended, which led to an asymptomatic transmission of the virus that then spread to others who work and train inside the PC. And if you follow some of these wrestlers on social media, Instagram, men and women who work down there, you can tell the ones that really don't take any of this stuff seriously. You could tell. You could tell from the ones who do and the ones who don't. It's like they live in a whole world of their own. They don't live in the same world as everybody else. They live in their own little bubble, it feels like. Now, there was a report in this week's Observer that says one story going around is that one of the NXT coaches unknowingly spread it without having any symptoms. They didn't obviously know that they had it, but they were the one who may have spread it around. And that the usage of masks at the PC, apparently it's not really a secret, has gotten very lax. People have gotten very lackadaisical about utilizing masks inside the PC in recent weeks. How much of a goddamn idiot do you have to be to throw a party in the middle of a pandemic when you, A, live and work in Florida, in Orlando, which is a hot spot right now for this stuff, and B, the nature of what you do for a living puts you in direct physical contact with other people. These are not people sitting behind a desk all day. These are not people driving an Uber. You train with people, there's sweat, you're rolling around, you're breathing on each other, you're in close contact. It's a direct contact sport. This is your job. This is what you do for a living. This is what they do for a living. And if they're doing the right thing and you're throwing a fucking party, that makes you a selfish asshole. If I'm WWE and people are getting a little too lax when it comes to wearing masks inside the PC, then it's time to start fining people. I mean, whatever happened to that? I thought Kevin Owens said that he had a whole conversation with Vince McMahon and they agreed to fine people for stuff like this. Or are they fining them $20 and nobody seems to care? You know, MLW just hired a COVID compliance officer for their company. I think it's time WWE does the same thing. Put somebody in place to actually enforce these things. And if people don't follow the rules, well, you know what? Maybe $500 here and $1,000 there, that might get their attention. These people are not millionaires. Not the ones who work down there aren't. $500 is a lot of money. $1,000 is a lot of money. It might not be a lot of money to Randy Orton, but to the people down there, that'll get their attention real quick. WWE issued this statement. As part of ongoing testing protocols, WWE completed its second round of weekly COVID testing on Tuesday. Individuals that tested positive will quarantine for 14 days, receive medical care, and will then only be cleared when they are symptom-free and test negative. Additionally, extensive contact tracing has been taking place, and other individuals have been placed in 14-day quarantine and will then only be cleared after they test negative. They did not release any names, which they are not obligated to do. If people don't want their names out there, then they have the right to not put their names out there. But if they want to, they may not feel that they can because WWE doesn't want them to. They had trainees from the PC, some of the, not the main Retribution people, but some of those other people in the black masks who are just sort of the random hangers-on, the clingers, if you will, of Retribution. They were running around on Monday night in Retribution masks, working on Monday Night Raw. These are trainees from the PC who may well have been affected by this and didn't know that they had anything. If those people have COVID and didn't know it, they could have infected people on Raw. That could wreak havoc with their shows going forward. They have a pay-per-view tonight. I mean, this could still turn out to be an even bigger story if that happened and we find out about more positive tests. It's already caused changes with the NXT shows. We don't know who may have tested positive outside of Chelsea Green, going public and saying that she recently had it and now she's okay. You know, Chelsea Green is dating Matt Cardona, who's worked dates recently for AEW, which has not been spared in this either. By the way, you had the governor of Florida on Friday ordering a complete reopening, 100% complete reopening of all restaurants, all non-essential businesses, no restrictions. No restrictions. Florida also happened to have the highest COVID-related death count in the country on Thursday. Just putting that out there. Where's that Bugs Bunny gif when you need it? That may be my favorite gif on the internet. I've used it more in the last 6 months than I have in the last 6 years. Lance Archer. This is where AEW comes into play. Lance Archer pulled himself from Dynamite this past week. There was a big 6-man tag team main event planned. It was going to be Lance Archer, who was the #1 contender for the AEW World title. Brian Cage and Ricky Starks taking on Jon Moxley, Darby Allin, and Will Hobbs. Newcomer Will Hobbs. This is going to be a big moment for him. That was the scheduled main event. It did not take place. Instead, they did an AEW World title match between Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, who, remember, was never officially eliminated from the Battle Royal at All Out. So him getting the shot actually made sense. And I was happy for Kingston to see him get that spot. 18 years in the business, the man was selling his gear a few months ago just to try to pay his mortgage. And there he was on TNT getting an AEW championship match. It's a great story. But Lance Archer pulled out because he claimed that when he got home from the last set of tapings, a family member was sick. And he was exposed, and then subsequently he tested positive. They didn't say that on TV, but in the tweet that Archer posted, he flat out said that he tested positive. And he said, "I'll see you in 2 weeks." Because that's when his AEW title match is scheduled for. It may be a little over 2 weeks. October 14th is the big AEW Dynamite live anniversary show. 1 year anniversary of Dynamite. He's in the main event challenging Jon Moxley for the championship. And he's hopeful that he'll be one of the people who feel fine, and in a couple of weeks he'll test negative and everything will be fine. Now, Archer may not have been affected at work, but others were. And it's probably not a coincidence that this is happening. Their outbreak coincides with this NXT outbreak. They're all situated down there in the same, not exactly the same neighborhood or anything, but they're hobnobbing together down there. We know a lot of the talents between the two companies are very friendly. Some of them are in relationships together. It's possible. It's possible the two outbreaks are related. We just don't know. We don't know for sure. You got poor Ben Carter, 23 years old. He just had the biggest week of his life. He had great matches with Lee Johnson on AEW Dark. He had a great match with Scorpio Sky on Late Night Dynamite on Tuesday. He announced that he has tested positive as well. He doesn't know how he got it, where he got it, when he got it, but he's positive. So imagine going from like the highest of highs and then getting punched in the gut. So that was just shitty to hear. But this Dynamite anniversary show, I got to talk about this. October 14th is their big anniversary show. They are promoting Jon Moxley against Lance Archer for the main event. Jon Moxley has been announced. He was just announced for Josh Barnett's Bloodsport show 3 days before, on October 11th. He's going to be facing Chris Dickinson. Moxley was originally supposed to face Josh Barnett last September. That didn't happen. He was supposed to face him again in April or be on the show in April. That didn't happen. Moxley had to pull out the first time due to the staph infection that he had in his elbow. This year's show got delayed due to COVID. Now, Moxley had to get approval from AEW to do the show, obviously. I think that is a huge mistake. One of the problems with allowing your talent to work outside dates, which is very nice of AEW to do, but in the middle of a pandemic, it is a disaster waiting to happen. And who knows, it may have played a role in the current outbreak that they're dealing with. How are you going to allow your world champion 3 days before your big anniversary show to work an independent date from another promotion with other talent not being tested by your company? I know AEW has all these protocols in place, You can have all the testing protocols in place and that you want down there in Jacksonville, but they have no power over the people who are working the Bloodsport show in Indiana. You know, Deonna Purrazzo just pulled out of that show, citing health concerns and wanting to make sure that she leaves enough time to self-isolate just to make sure that she's good to go for Bound for Glory weekend. You know, right now she is the Impact Knockouts champion, and she wants to make sure that she doesn't miss that show. If I'm Don Callis and Scott D'Amore over at Impact, I would have insisted on it. Maybe they did. Maybe that's why she pulled out. It's the smart thing to do. You know, I understand that Jon Moxley, he's a man of his word. He feels bad. He wants to keep his commitment to Josh Barnett. He promised that he was going to be part of the show. This would have been the third time that he would have postponed if he said no. But AEW has to be his top priority right now. After all this, I mean, Tony Khan, I think he's crazy. I think he's crazy for allowing Moxley to do this. Now, maybe Moxley's contract allows for him to call his own shots. I don't know. But this is not a risk worth taking so close to that anniversary show. I mean, honestly, if we're being honest here, I think AEW should tell all of its talents no more independent dates for the time being. Now, maybe some of the wrestlers aren't paid as much as the big names are because they make a lot of their money from those indie dates, and that would hurt a lot of them. I don't know what their contracts say, but AEW has to lock this shit down and protect their own ass here. I know that allowing them to work outside dates is one of the things that makes AEW very attractive to a lot of the talent. WWE does not allow that. I mean, these are once-in-a-lifetime type circumstances here that nobody in wrestling could have foreseen. Now, maybe there's some kind of incentive or bonus or something that AEW can offer to some of these talents who, you know, can show that, hey, I was booked here, here, and here, and you're putting me in a tough spot here. You're telling me I can't work these shows. That's money out of my pocket. How are we going to fix this? Maybe there's something AEW can do, you know, temporarily to kind of cover them for that. But again, in my mind, it's just too risky. And when they feel it's safe enough, they can let those talents start taking outside bookings again. But the fact that the AEW champion is booked on this show 3 days before his big anniversary, you know, date with Lance Archer, to me, is a big mistake.